there are just a lot of little things you hear through your life, and you kind of go along with them, and you don't really think about them. I think one of the neat things about economics is if it's done right, it gets you thinking about them. And let me quote one from a senator from Minnesota named, I keep blanking on his name, Wellstone. About a year and a half ago, he said words like the following about the pharmaceutical companies. They want to make money off people's sickness.
Really?
And he said it with a negative connotation. Now, it got me thinking, and I realized, he's right. They do want to make money off people's sickness, just as food companies want to make money off people's hunger. But food companies don't try to make money by making us more hungry. They try to make money by feeding us. Similarly, drug companies don't try to make money by making us sicker. They try to make money by making us more well. 6 years ago, I had an incident where I started to lose bodily fluids, and I lost 10 pounds in 24 hours. And I was so delirious, I couldn't even make a decision about what to do, and my wife decided to send me to the hospital. So I went to the hospital, and it's the community hospital of the Monterey Peninsula. We locals call it Chomp. And they put me in this beautiful white bed, and they pumped these fluids in my arm. I still remember how cold it felt. And I slept for 22 out of the next 24 hours. When my wife and daughter came to visit me in the morning, I didn't even know they were there. And my doctor later told me that they saved my life, that if I hadn't gone in, my body would have been destroyed. And it had already gone to the point where he said every cell in my body was damaged. It took me weeks to recover. Think about that. When and by the way, I did think about it. I think about these things. Not just, am I ever glad my life was saved, but thinking more about the economics of it too, because the people who saved my life were people I didn't even know. They were strangers. And yet they gave their best effort, or at least good enough effort, to save me. And for the next few months after that, when I would drive by Chomp, if I had a passenger in my car with me, I'd cheer, and if I didn't have a passenger, I'd blow a kiss. That's how happy I felt about them. I wanted them to make money off my sickness. See, I'm 51, and I don't want to get Parkinson's, and I don't want to get Alzheimer's, and I don't want to get, what was that other one? I don't want to get cancer. Or if I get them, I want them to be low, not that bad. And I might not get them, but I don't want my friends to get them either. And this is the really neat thing about capitalism and free markets, that there are people out there in the world whom I don't know, whom I'll never know, who are spending their time up late at night trying to figure out ways to make me well. They don't know about me. They don't care about me. If they met me, they might not even like me. And yet, they are doing this. Now, this is essentially I call it the Adam Smith eye pencil insight. Two stories. Adam Smith, everyone's heard of him. He once said, and one of the most famous line of the book, "It is not from the benevolence of the brewer, the butcher, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard for their own self-interest." In other words, they aren't doing it to be nice guys to us, but they find the way to do well for themselves is to be nice guys to us by producing the goods. Well, similarly, there's a famous man named Leonard Read who wrote an article, it's a classic article in 1958 called "I Pencil," in which he holds up, oops, I got I pen, best I can do. He holds, Milton Friedman drew on this in his Free to Choose series. It's the pencil talking, and the pencil says, "No one knows how to make me." It's a literally true statement that no one knows how to make me. Well, then, how do I get made? Well, because each individual in a division of labor of millions of individuals knows one little piece of it. No one even knows how to make the wood in me. That's an incredible division of labor. No one knows how to make the lead. That's an incredible division of labor. And it's brought together all in one. If we were to try to do it on our own, we would fail. And there's this, but the thing is, the market leads to this division of labor where there are people all over the world working together, coordinating. The price system coordinates them without any central planner. And as a result, you get this pencil that costs a couple of pennies to produce. And think about that. If you try to produce it on your own, you could spend a year and you would not have as good a pencil as you can get for about 10 cents at the store. That's incredible. And when I was a kid, I grew up in a small town in Midwestern Canada. When we go into the city, the first few times, the city of Winnipeg, 500,000 population, I would worry a little. I mean, I knew pretty much everyone in my town, but I didn't know these people, these strangers in the city. Well, gee, I got there and I want to get something. Who will do it for me? How will I get it? Why will they be nice to me? They don't even know me. And bit by bit, I understood the market, that they had incentives to be nice to me. And that, in fact, I got to admit, even now when I travel to a place like New York, you know, the little hick in me comes out and I get all worried about, you know, how will they treat me? And of course, people in New York are wonderful and the market works. On that issue, I just want to point out that there's an economist who just really nailed this issue some years ago, and his name was Joseph Schumpeter, about the incredible productivity of the market. And I quoted this in my chapter, The Joy of Capitalism. He pointed out that the virtue of capitalism is not, he says, Queen Elizabeth had silk stockings. The virtue of capitalism is not that rich people get silk stockings. The virtue of capitalism is that poor people get silk stockings or get nylons or get whatever after the rich people have had them a few years. Think about when you traveled 300 years ago. The only two groups really traveled. The really rich people who had a horrible time of it. They had to, you know, be in the elements, the cold, the heat, and so on, without air conditioning, without warmth. And the really poor people who were drafted and sent off to the Crusades. That was it. Now, we can travel halfway around the world for what in America is less than half of an average person's monthly salary. And we can do it in about 7 to 15 hours. And our idea of a tough trip is that our knees were cramped and the person beside us talked too much.